I'd love to hear some of the spokespeople for the groups sharing out some ideas that they discussed or highlighted their conversation. So is someone willing to be a brave volunteer and start first for sharing what their room talked about?
I'm happy to jump in, Kelly.
Thanks, Julia.
We one of our group members had a clarification, wanted to clarify about how to determine taste. So there was a kind of a conversation about how do we know what the taste is, orange versus soda, because they felt that soda introduced a taste of its own. So that was a cool one because we felt that the routine enabled us to do that kind of digging into the assumptions and the language and clarifications about the problem that might not have happened if we had stayed in a whole class setting. So yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
thanks for that. Because it didn't say, which one was more orangey or which one, I think somebody was like, which one's stronger? And I was like, well, stronger, like more fizzy or stronger, like more orangey, right? There's a lot of different ways and making sense of that language. And it gives you that chance, like you said, to really talk to your partner and co-construct. What do we mean when we're using these words? And how does the math help us make sense of all of this? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. So I want to share from another room a little bit of their conversation.
I can jump in there. We talked about the second question that you had, how does the routine support students to access mathematics? And having two different discussion groups really helped, because even if you didn't think of the one way, you would have been able to build on that in the next discussion group.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a really important piece of it, that maybe the first time you go into that partnership and you really don't have very much and like not really sure what you can contribute, but then you can probably grab some of those ideas from that first partnership and then go into the second partnership with a little bit more to share and a better idea, right? And rather than just being sat in class and being like, oh, that person shared that, yeah, I got it, that sort of makes sense, and moving on, right? It really forces that student to like articulate their thinking and try on some language, even if it's not perfect and they don't have all the math and language to explain it entirely. It's a process of revision. I think we so frequently think of revision in like English classes and essays, but there's a chance to really revise our thinking in math classes as well. Awesome. I think it was Nick was unmuting to share a little bit from your breakout room, maybe.
Of course. Our breakout room didn't work that well because we had some technical difficulties, but coming back to the 3 reads, I really liked that because I've just been doing exam revision, sadly, and they don't read the questions properly. And so actually having practice of doing the context first and getting the context sort of not out of the way, not really, but really engaging in the context first before trying to strip the mathematics out of it, I think has a lot going for it. I really like that, and I think I'll try and use that.
Awesome. Thank you. I think we've all experienced those times when you're like wondering, like, did the student read the question or just pull out those numbers and like do something with them, right? And so I think that really forces it, right? That I think you caught that I didn't actually share a question until the 3rd time we read it, right? I was just asking what's the context, what's the quantities, and really trying to unpack the language and the meaning and what's happening here before the 3rd read, right, where the question, Lisa was reading and I suddenly popped that question on, and then it's like, oh, that's what we're actually going to do. So yeah, kind of slow down to go fast, right? Slow down with like reading the question so we can actually work on the mathematics and we're not re-explaining the question. Awesome. And I think I got one more room that might be able to share that hasn't had a spokesperson yet.
I can share.
Thank you.
I think the routine helps the students make their learning visible, make their thinking visible, and also give kids opportunity to clarify their thinking. Especially for kids who are struggling with math, and it can provide a lot of peer support. Because kids, I think, they're good at using students-friendly language compared to teachers. And yeah, I think it will help them a lot.
Right. It can be helpful to have another student explain it rather than the teacher explain it the way we might, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what Yin's putting into chat as well, right? That you have times when a student might not be confident enough to share in the whole class, But you know, when literally everyone's in partners and half the class has to share at any given moment, half the class is talking about mathematics, right? You're kind of, everyone's really being pulled in to share something, and there isn't as much the expectation that you've raised your hand in class and in front of 30 students, you're giving the perfect answer. No, it's like everyone's in their draft thinking and how they're grappling with it, and they're gonna grab some ideas from their partner as they go, right? Yes, and there is a little bit of yeah, quality control of like kind of going around and checking and listening in, and the management piece of that for sure. Yeah, there is some connection there, Lisa, to think, pair, share as well. This one I would just say as that kind of that second opportunity for revision, right? Rather than just the think time and the pair, then it's go back and like pair again, and then think some more on your own, and yeah, and so a little bit more. Yes, and you're kind of, you are wanting to monitor what they're saying and listen in, right? And trying to catch if, you know, if a group is trying to think only additively about this and not multiplicatively. There's some things that you would want to try and monitor as you're going around and listening in. Any other last people that want to share anything out loud as we come to the close of our time? Nick, I appreciate that. It's like, it's not a routine the first time you do it, right? It's not a routine for them or for you, right? It only can become a routine if you try it more than once, right? Yeah, it's messy until they're used to like, oh, we're doing that 3 reads again. I know what's expected of me in this setting, right? That's the part about instructional routines that's important, is that students kind of know how they're being asked to engage, and they're gonna have to do it more than once to kind of know that format. And Julie, I like what you said about like, it's an evolving solution, right? It's not necessarily right the first time, but really diving in more deeply to one high quality problem can develop thinking more as they have a chance to refine their thinking. Lisa, I thought you were unmuting a second ago. Did you want to share?
Yeah, I was thinking, when might you use the routine? Because, you know, getting, as I think Nick said, you want to get the routine, you want it to become a routine. So you practice, I suppose, with problems. And I mean, I love the fact that it gave them time to listen, and it made them focus on different aspects, as opposed to, like, I've done a 3 reads thing similar, but obviously not this 3 reads, but I gave them time to read it and get them to write things down, but not I wasn't quite as directed with what I told them to write each time. And I quite like the fact that they weren't reading it, they were listening to it. So it made them, because that's one of the things nowadays I find, that students listen worse than they actually read, which isn't, but I mean, yeah, so the routine, so would you use it with like new concepts? So once it has become a routine and they know how to use it, you know, it would be great for, right, we've got a new topic here, boom, and then they've got that structure and they know what to do, so they actually start to build it up themselves with that structure that you've hopefully developed with them. I like it.
I think as the routine is newer, you want the mathematics to kind of be easier, and as they're like totally accustomed to the routine, then you can up, right? So the first time you do it stronger and clearer each time, I might do it as like, you know, which is better, pizza or hamburgers, right? And you can do a stronger and clearer about that, just to like figure out the routine before the math becomes complicated as well. Yeah. I lost my other thing I was going to say about that, but thank you. Yes, and there's different ways of doing the 3 reads, but just like that part of slowing down, especially on a problem, and it could be words. It could also be like a graph or other things that are complex for reading, and asking students to really engage with it in different ways before they jump into doing the mathematics of solving the problem. I saw one question about access to other routines. If you go to this like participant packet that you copied, if you click here, that will take a link to a PDF that has more information about the other routines. So that is there. So I know we are kind of at the closure of our time. So I would love it if people could kind of throw one last sentence into chat. Curious kind of where you're at, like what's a connection you're making to your own practice, or something that you want to try out. So if you're willing to kind of share your thinking at this moment in chat, I think that would help all of us reflect as we close today. So you can use either of these as a sentence starter. Awesome. Glad people are liking a few of these different routines. Definitely am a fan of 3 reads. Yeah, and a poster would be a great way for so students kind of know what the routine is. They can know what's happening. Well, that is it for me today. So thank you all for sharing a little bit of your Saturday afternoon with me.